welcome to This Is Metal with Joe Lawson. My name is Jason JROCK Houston. Of course, Joe Lawson here, and we got our special guest today, Norman Skinner, who is a big news these days in metal because he's a new singer in Forbidden. I've interviewed Norman a number of times over years. It's great to be talking to you again, Norman. So tell us how you got this gig.
Oh, Forbidden gig by
Yeah,
accident.
that's the big news in the metal community right now.
Yeah, it was a shocker. It just kind of happened, man. It just sort of fell into place. I was just assisting Craig Lucicero heads up a thing called Bay Area International, and what that is he gathers a lot of musicians together, and they pay respects to the original thrash songs, on those first couple albums from well-known thrash bands. And the caveat is, though, say for instance you're in Testament, you can't play a Testament song. You have to play like an
Okay.
Overkill song.
Wow.
If you're in Death Angel, you have to play like a Heathen song or something. So you can't play your own song.
Oh,
So
I
it gets
love that.
different
I love
players
that.
together.
Cool concept.
Yeah, so they've done a couple shows. At this time, they were getting ready to go to the Dynamo Festival over in Belgium, and the singers that they had lined up were like Peyton from Hyrax, Randy from Lamb of God, people like that. None of them were in town. None of them were local. None of them were. Some of them were touring, so they didn't have a singer. And I guess Chris Contos said, "Hey, why don't you call Skinner up? Me see if he's interested in helping us out, just so we can hit our cues and things."
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it'd just be weekends, just a few weekends of helping them, get these songs down. So Craig called me and said, "Hey, would you mind coming helping us out? Just learn 12 songs, to help us get through our rehearsals." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm cool. I'll do that." So I did that, and I lived like hour and 40 minutes away, but it was still just an honor to kind of be in the room with those guys. So I learned the songs, went down there. I think by like the third weekend, there was one song on the list that we just were not playing, and that was "Off the Edge" by Forbidden. And I had learned it, so I said, "Hey, what about this song?" And then Craig goes, "Well, none, since we're all former Forbidden members, like none of us will actually play that song."
Wow.
And he goes, "You're right." So he goes, "But things happen, and we might have to step in or something if somebody bails or something just happens." He says, "Maybe we should just do it." So I think this is where things started happening.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
went into the song, and at the time, the guys that were in the room I was playing with, it was Steve Smythe, Craig Lucicero, Matt Camacho, and Mark Hernandez. It was the 2008 Omega Wave lineup, and
Wow. Cool.
I was singing the song, we're doing the song, and I guess behind me the door opened, and Harold O, from DRI, and Chris Contos and stuff, just like looking and going
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
like that. I didn't know. I was just in my zone, just trying to hit my marks and stuff.
Sure.
And
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, so I finished that song, and Craig said, "Hey, I just want everyone to know it's not lost on me that this guy just killed that song."
Yeah.
And I felt pretty good. So I finished out my time with them, and then Craig said, "Hey, you've done us a solid. If you'd like, we'd like to have you come out to our San Francisco version of the show and actually perform a song or two." And I'm like, "That'd be great." So I waited for a while. They went and did, the big festival, came back. I got the call, and they gave me ultimately, I ended up with 8 songs by the end of it.
Wow.
But the one they really wanted me to do was Chalice of Blood. But so he's like, "Yeah, you're going to do Chalice of Blood, but all of Warbringer is going to be your backing band." So I was like, "Yeah, that sounds killer, sure."
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had these 2-day rehearsals, like full day rehearsals, just media and bands and just people coming in and out. I mean, it was insane. But that I did my other songs throughout the 2 days, but it was only on literally the night before the show that Warbringer, they were out traveling, they showed up, and it was like one of the last songs to be done. So we go into it. I do Chalice of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
I find out later that everyone's looking at Craig like, "Are you hearing this? Are you seeing this?"
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And he's just like, "Yeah, I'm seeing it." But there was no plans, to bring Forbidden
That's
back
what
or
I was going to
anything.
ask
It's
you.
just,
Do you think in the back of their mind, maybe like, okay, it's kind of be like a audition, see how this guy does, or did it just kind of work out that way?
Well, so here's the thing, right? So I do the show, all right, and everyone goes wild and it's crazy. And Contos has just been waving the flag. He's just like, "You're fucking stupid if you don't get forbidden back," like right in front of me, like saying stuff like that. I was like, and I'm just keeping my mouth shut, you know. I'm just like this guy. I'm on stage with guys that are, you know, way up there in terms of.
That must be a great feeling to hear people talking about your performance like that, you know?
Yeah, it was cool. So since then, I've heard hella people tell me, "Oh man, that was pretty much that was an audition. That was an audition." And yeah, I talked to the guys. They're like, "No, that it absolutely was not an audition." They still, Craig, like I still was like, even after the show, I was like, "I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, but I'm not interested." So what happened? The final piece to kind of fall into place. That's why I said, "You're like, how did you get this?" I said it was a complete accident. Alcatraz Festival called him and said, "Hey, Anthrax had to drop out. Is there any way?" I know the promoters of their huge Forbidden fans. Mm-hmm. They're like, "It's the 35th anniversary Forbidden Evil. Is there any way we can get you to come and do a 35th anniversary show?" And we know that Russ is retired. He doesn't sing. He doesn't want anything to do with music. Maybe you can find another singer, a fill-in, or somebody like that. And they really love Chris Contos, and maybe get Chris on drums. That'd be awesome. That'd be a good story.
Yeah.
And then there you go. So I guess the light bulb went off. Craig called the guys and stuff before calling me. The last person after me was Contos. He wasn't involved yet, but Matt, Steve, and Craig were all on board with their manager Tim, and then I was expecting a call. I was expecting a Bay Area International call because they were talking about how we might go back to Europe, but I didn't know how soon or how later. I was just excited to be involved in it.
Sure. Yeah, it would.
So I answer the phone, and Craig, what's up, man? Like, "Oh, how's it going, dude?" "Yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush, man. How would you like to front the new reformation of Forbidden?"
Wow.
I
think I'll take that gig, right?
Yeah. I said,
That's a pretty good phone call to
yes. I'm in. I just said I'm in. I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't think it over. I just said yes.
In fact, Joe, excuse me, Norman. Norman and I were talking before you came online, and he was sharing with me before all this went down. He had just completed work on a new solo album, and tell a little bit about that, Norman.
Cool.
All the so I do things under the moniker Skinner, which is just my own creative, cool stuff, right? That, you know, maybe it doesn't fit, you know, like Nevaeh or in the future Forbidden. So I've had the solo album I've been working on for like 7-8 years in the background, just chopping away at it, different musicians. And man, it turned out so good. It's so killer. It's called The Dark Design, released like March 30th or March 31st. And then a few weeks later, the Forbidden news comes out, and everyone forgot all about that solo album. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. Everything got overshadowed.
You know what's interesting about that, though, Norman, is that there'll be a huge resurgence of that as you progress with Forbidden. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that end up checking that out because of your involvement with Forbidden.
That's a hope, right? That's absolutely a hope for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, but this was a complete accident. It just everything just sort of fell into place. I was the right guy in the right place at the right time.
Sometimes that's the best way for things to happen. You know, you're not even expecting it, and it just comes along into your lap, and you know, and you can't even be accused of oh, I got a lucky break or whatever. I mean, I wasn't expecting. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was just helping him out, and I was just, you know, making sure I was prepped and as pro as I could be. So,
in fact, I'm prepping for the interview day. I seen you guys have something up on the official Forbidden site or YouTube. The Forbidden Chronicles, kind of talking about the rebirthing of the band and talk about all this, and that's pretty cool, you know. And you were talking a little bit about in one of the segments the fact that you're not just a metal performer, but like you're a big supporter of other metal bands. You go out there when you're on the road, you check out the other bands, you support the other bands, and I think that's great.
I think everybody should be that way. I think one problem, and I don't know, sometimes I talk too much and I say the wrong things, but I honestly think most metal scenes, local
Yeah,
scenes, there's too many bands, not enough fans.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it's everybody wants to be in a band and not everybody should be in a band. But that being said, I still like to go check out local shows and support local bands, even if you got to sit through three really bad ones to see the good one that's on the bill. So
And I think the
That's
true
awesome.
test of what a great guy you will be, or really are, is that when you've been forbidden for a few years, maybe got a couple albums with them under your belt, people are going to be able to see the Norman Skinner I've interviewed over years. Like, man, he's in forbidden, and his head hasn't shot up or anything. He's still the same down to earth guy.
I've met way too many what I term cock stars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I never want to be one of those. I mean, it's nothing worse than like you just. I mean, I'm not even going to name names, but this is a drummer of like a really big thrash speed metal band. Big four, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And he was just, it was at Nam, and he was outside, and he was on his phone, and
yeah.
then he was talking to some girl, and then he was just standing there, like, and I waited till he was not doing anything, and I just walked up real quick, and I'm like, "Hey, brother, just want to shake your hand, just let you know I'm a fan, and it's really cool just to kind of see you and meet you real quick." So, and he just looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, whatever, man," and
Yeah,
I
wow.
was just like, "Wow, all
Again,
right,
Damn.
a great
I'll
lesson
remember
of how
that."
not to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and there's been a few times where you meet certain people, or like
Yeah,
somebody is like being a total dick, but then they kind of realize who you are,
yeah, yeah,
even in a local scene, right?
yeah,
Even
yeah.
if they're like, "Oh, he's in that band," I probably should have been like, "Well, what, your true colors shown, man. See
Yeah,
what kind of person you are."
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Word gets around, like even, in doing these interviews like I've done over the years, Norman. I'm not going to name names either, but I had this one guy. I was super nice to me. I was super nice to him. I'm talking about the, singer in a band, and we were having technical issues. This is when we're doing like old school, phone interviews. Audio was a little shoddy, and I posted it anyways. And the manager was kind of a real, whatever. And he's like, "I'm never gonna let you interview my artist again. Your audio is so shitty." And I'm like, "Well, we're not in a major studio. Try to do our best. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I told the guy, hey, I've always been great to you. Always been great to me. You should just be aware how your manager talks to people.
right, yeah, because you never know who's representing you, right? You could have somebody on your team representing you in a bad way.
In fact,
Yep.
even like I said, I've interviewed you many times over years. In fact, I don't know if you remember me or not, Chaotic Chris, but this is just started doing these Zoom interviews this year, and it took me a while because I'm not too tech savvy myself, but we kind of get to a point where we're doing them and they're fun because each one kind of has a different personality. But even starting to do these video interviews, as fun as they are, I'm like, I heard you were in Forbidden. I'm like, okay, that'd be great to get him on the show. And I'm pretty sure Norman would do it because he's always done interviews with me. He's always been great to talk to, and so it's nice to hear when a nice guy gets a good gig like this, and there's oftentimes, like you're saying, you might get an opportunity to interview a big rock star, but maybe he's not as cool as you. If you know what I mean? Maybe he's got a big head. Maybe he thinks he's better than everybody else. And you're like, you know what? I'd rather talk to somebody like Norman Skinner because he's much more down to earth.
Oh yeah, man. I'm the guy that when I'm in town is like, he's like, "Jason, Joe, let's go out, man. Let's hang out."
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
There
freaking
we go.
have a beer, or whatever. So
Congratulations, by the way, Norman. Congratulations
thanks,
on the
bud.
gig.
So Joe,
Yeah,
you got
it's
any questions for Norman? I don't want to do all the talking here.
Yeah, I do. Are you guys doing anything from Twisted into Form, and how is putting the set lists and stuff together coming along?
so we're mainly just focused on the Alcatraz Festival to start. And then we have a warm-up show 2 days earlier in Belgium as well. So it's no secret that we're playing the whole first album. Everybody knows that.
That's great.
Obviously, we're doing 35th anniversary. Craig has mentioned, I wasn't saying anything till I heard that he mentioned something.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are playing a couple songs as well off of Twisted into Form. So
Nice.
that's what the set, at least for these first two shows, the set will be all of the first album with a couple additional songs off Twisted into Form. Nothing from the later albums yet. But we have, we're having a lot of other shows coming in for the end of the year and next year. By then, Chris and I will be up to speed where we can, really change it up.
Yeah.
Man, so I want to play, some deep cuts here and there, and just everything at some point. Throw in the sleeper track where people are like, whoa, I didn't think I'd ever hear this one.
And as far as coming up with the set list, like how involved are you? Like obviously you're a singer, so you have a little bit of a say, but is it more of a like them asking, hey Norman, what do you think you can do, or how do you feel about doing these songs?
No, pretty much Craig's the one that we look at it this way, right? He's been there from the get-go, right? So he knows how the crowds react to which songs, which ones are the good live ones. Me as a fan, I'm just like any other fan. I might have my favorites, like one of my favorite songs, you might be like, really? So I personally just trust on whatever set he puts together. He's like, hey, I'd like to put this one on the set. I'm like, sure. The only input that I do is like for instance, if we had a one rehearsal and we started with Chalice of Blood, and right out the gate is that big power scream, right? I'm like, dude, I need to be warmed up. We cannot start with Chalice of Blood. That thing needs to go to the back of the line. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but that's I just let them know, hey, certain songs, please don't put in the first couple. Let me have at least 2 songs live before we get out. Yeah. But other than that, I'm easy. I'm not really a diva or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
I love all the songs. So like, whatever you put on there, I'm just going to enjoy doing it.
That's the obvious question right there is obviously you stressed the fact you were a fan before you were friends with the guys. So what's it like? And obviously you're a performer in your own right. You've been doing this for years. So it's not like you've never done a show at this level. It's a little higher, but you know what I mean? So what's it like to go from being a fan of the band and maybe friends with some of these guys, that you're in the band now, you're up on stage playing these songs that you used to go home and listen to, on CD or record or whatever?
Well, I'm still not quite there yet, right? So I have not performed live yet with them, but just in the rehearsal studio. But I can say, these guys, none of us I would not consider them on that friend level. They were more acquaintances that I saw at shows. Like we never hung out personally.
Oh, ever. Okay, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So now these guys are like brothers. It's like family because we're hanging out all the time. I'm getting to really know them. As far as the music goes, it's a little different, right? It's like oh cool. I'm playing a song that I've grown up listening to, but it's a whole lot different when you're having to like deep dive and learn all the little nuances and stuff. It's like if you're a drummer, right? You're just, you hear a cool Metallica song, you're just air drumming and stuff, right? Ain't no big deal. But if you got to actually perform that and you got to learn all the little fills and stuff, it becomes a whole different thing, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I want to make sure that the songs come across me, but they still have that core Russ, his little nuances thrown in there too. So it's what the fans will recognize, but be like, oh yes, this is what I grew up, this is what I like hearing, but it's got a little of him in there. All right. It's a balance, right?
Yeah. How weird is that for you, like to know that you're going to be up on that stage with these guys, you're going to be singing these songs that you were a fan of, and it's not the original singer's voice coming up on stage, it's your voice.
Yeah, that's crazy. A little surreal.
Yeah, a little surreal.
I know it's pretty new and stuff still for you, Norman, but have you guys discussed writing any new material or recording a new album?
We have. So that is for next year. Well, not even next year. Craig and Steve have already started working on riffs, and Craig's always been the primary songwriter in Forbidden. Russ assisted with some lyrics, but it's mainly been Craig. So we're going to keep that same dynamic.
Okay.
So he's already working on new material, and he said that ultimately over this next year, in between festival appearances, we don't plan on doing any lengthy touring of any kind. It's just get in front of as many people as possible in those big festivals, just here and there, while writing an album. And then that way we can be in the studio maybe this time next year for what I hope will be the first of many albums with me, because I've still got a lot of fuel in the tank. So I'm ready to, give Forbidden fans.
And Norman,
you get to write some lyrics too, Norman?
Am I going to be involved? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably help a little bit here and there, but I mean, for God, for like the last 10, 12 albums, 14 albums I've released, I've been the sole lyric writer. But in Forbidden, I don't want to mess with the dynamic that's already been there. You know what I mean? The
Sure,
songs,
Sure.
you know, Craig's already got topics and sort of a style to his writing. So as a fan, I want that to continue. So, you know, if he asks me, you know, hey, what do you think of this? And I got a little line or an idea, I'll throw it in there. But for the most part, I'm gonna kind of sit back and just see what he comes up with first. Yeah.
That's a really humble and mature approach. That's awesome.
Oh,
That
thank
is.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so many times, you know, that's where people bands start to have problems with, you know, because let's be honest, songwriting is a great source of revenue, and so everybody, if possible, wants to be involved in that. And some people are a little more forced the issue than maybe they should. And I think Norman's very smart, whereas I'll just keep it, you know, the way it's been, unless, you know, unless the opportunity presents itself, but not going to push the fact, you know.
Right. I mean, I have. I mean, I still have my other projects that I work on, so I can still get my creativity out,
So you
and which
still
is
got
that's what
Skinner,
it's.
which you mentioned as kind of your solo project. And then what is the name of the other band? I always have trouble pronouncing it.
That's because okay. So here's the problem with that, right? Most people call it Nivian.
Nivian,
Nivian
yeah.
is the correct. Yeah, that's the correct pronunciation. But we, as stupid Americans, we pronounce it Nevian, which is incorrect. But we've already recorded a song that
Yeah.
says Nevian. We're
Yeah, yeah.
stick to our gun. So call it Nevian. But if you say Nivian, we're not going to correct you because we really can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that yeah, we just finished our third album, and we're getting ready to I guess start shopping. I mean, we'll see if our current label Pure Steel wants to release it and what the offer is. But you know, I don't know. Maybe the whole Singer of Forbidden thing might carry a little weight. You know,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
knows? I don't know.
I really think
So,
Joe is right on that. I mean, because those bands, you know, you've got kind of the cult following, but I really do think this is going to push you up a notch. And I think maybe it's going
Yeah,
to have twofold. It's going to be twofold. You're going to have people that are just checking you out for the first time. Oh, he's a new Forbidden singer. They know nothing about what you did before, and then they'll maybe read up on you and he's got these other two. Oh, let's go check out what he did. Let's go buy those
right.
CDs. And then you're going to have you know, fans from the other bands that are maybe just finding out about Forbidden because you're in
Yeah,
it now.
that's been happening. Yeah, I've been getting it from both sides. Just as you said it, I've been getting the Navine fans that are like, "So you're in this new band, right? Oh, I'm not familiar with them." And then, of course, most are, but there are those that are not. And then I check our analytics, you know, on you know whether it be Spotify or YouTube or the website, and on average, when the news hit, everything for Navine bumped up 300%. So
there you
I
go.
think a lot of people checking it out. Who's this dude? I think is exactly what that was. Yeah.
And see, that's a cool thing. You got still got the
That's
other
awesome.
projects. If you want to, you know, write your own material, you can still do that. And you know, why not? Do
Yeah,
it all.
exactly. Have your
So
cake and eat it
Forbidden's
too, so
covered
to
a
speak.
lot of material musically, Norman, throughout the years. So I know you mentioned that they've started writing some riffs and some ideas. Do you think that this new record that you're going to be a part of is going to be similar to Twisted into Form, or is it going to be newer? I mean, where's it going musically?
My guess, and this is my guess is as good as yours, honestly, brother. But I would, I would, I would think that it'll probably take off right from where Omega Wave left off, because Omega Wave was heavy, it was modern, it had layers and layers of dynamics, and I'm a huge fan of that album. Craig is a huge
Yeah.
fan of that album. I think that was the direction where the band was heading at that time. So I'm hoping that it stays that path. As far as some of the higher range dynamics that were on Twisted and Form and Forbidden Evil, I'm gonna see if I can include some of those in, bring back some of the scream a little bit here and there. Just you know, if it makes sense in
Oh,
the song.
sure. Yeah. And you mentioned you guys are going to be playing some of the bigger European festivals. I was curious, is that your first time you've ever played any of those festivals, or have you played any of the festivals with the other bands?
So I have been to Europe to record albums.
Mhm.
I have never performed overseas
Oh, so
ever.
this has got to
I've
be
I've
exciting.
Yeah, it is. I've never performed on a European festival or stage. I've done festivals domestically on
Yeah,
tour as
sure,
like
sure.
and things. But honestly, I'm like, hey, how many people? I have the band. I said, hey, how many people are at this festival thing? On average, like, oh, that one's a smaller one. That was like 25, 30,000. And I'm just like, hey, the most I've ever played to is like, I don't know, maybe 1,800 or something. So,
What a step up, Alex.
yes.
That's awesome.
So I was just like, oh, okay. And then, so I was kind of nervous. I'm like, wow, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, my debut performing this stuff live for the first time is really going to be in front of that many people. I'm like, damn. And then they announced later, oh, a special warm-up show, 100 people only, tiny club, sold out. I'm like, yes, I'll take that all day long. Let me dip my toe in the little pond before you throw me in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. But even to be going over to Europe, because I understand, the European fans really love their metal. They're a lot more loyal.
Yeah, what's cool is I've had a lot of Forbidden fans that are going to be at like just this festival alone, and all around the world, just reaching out to me, and they think that they thank you for bringing my band back, and I'm like, don't put that on me, dude. I'm just happen to be the guy they chose to do some singing. I didn't bring your band back, but and then guys will send me just all this Forbidden stuff that they have, and I'm like, that's awesome, and then I'll follow it up, and they'll send me, you know 3 more pictures just full of like, the 19 albums I've released. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be interesting,
Yeah,
like
you gotta
signings and
gotta picture
stuff.
yourself, right, Norman? Like, is this really happening? I mean, when you get this forbidden stuff,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, I'm in the band.
Yeah. And
Yeah, but
it's
don't
just
sell
kind of neat.
yourself short, Norman. A lot of this is you, brother. The way that you explained it and stuff when you did those rehearsals with these guys and they were hearing it and the vibe was there and they knew you were crushing it. You definitely planted that seed. So that's
I'm
awesome.
with you. I'm with you, man. It's just, when you hear somebody say, like, almost like you're the reason, it's like, I can't take all that. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll take a
Right.
fraction. I'll take a fraction of it.
There
We'll
you go.
compromise. I'll take a
Okay.
fraction. But yeah, I find it really cool that these Forbidden fans reach out, and then I find out a lot of them are already fans of me. That kind of blows my mind because I know that my bands, we're a pretty decent sized band in our tiny backyard, but beyond that, we're a blip on the radar in the grand scheme of things. I think a lot of bands that are at our level don't realize that they have these delusions of grandeur. They think they're huge and stuff. But the reality of it is there's so many bands out there, and most bands are really
Yeah.
unknown. I mean, so for me, when I see Forbidden fans sending me stuff and they've already familiar with me, and that kind of gives me a little like happy boost. I'm like,
And I got to tell you, Norman, my response when I heard the news that you were joining Forbidden, as I thought, oh, wow, Norman Skinner, yeah, I've interviewed that guy a number of times over the years. Great, huge talent, I mean, could happen a more talented, super nice guy. I know I keep saying that, but I mean, it was like, it was like I kind of had that connection, and I'm like, wow, I'm glad to hear this. And then, I got to thank the guy who set up the interview today, the Lord of PR, our mutual friend, Benjamin.
Ben,
Um,
yeah.
and then I also got to name drop the other publicist that works with the band, Michael Branville. He sent me a lot of great interviews over the years. So you guys got like powerhouse people working with you.
Yeah, I like Ben a lot because he's like he just hustles.
Yeah, he
He
really
hustles. I
does.
like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I never know what he's up to. He's always got something in the works. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, he's always, and you're one of the guys he's been, working with me over the years. He's a very guy that set up all the interviews, and so I got to kind of throw his name in there. And it's nice too that like a band like Forbidden, you got the Big Four band, but they're one of those bands very much like Metal Church could have been like the next big thing. And I mean, they got their loyal legacy, they got their fan base,
Sure.
but they should have been much more huger. And it's nice to kind of see they're on a kind of upward trajectory now that they're still got their loyal fan base, and people are just excited by this news. Oh, they got a new singer. Okay, we're gonna go check them out when they come to our town.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really happy for Matt and Craig. a lot, and Steve as well. But because Chris and I, we're the new blood, right? So we come in and we do our rehearsals and stuff. For he and I think it's more just like we're just really trying to nail these things down. We're trying to get these songs down. The other guys, I'm sure they're trying to get up to speed on where they used to be, but at the same time, we get to kind of see their excitement of what they've already had all those years and time and energy that they put in. Now they're able to do it again, and maybe Chris and I, with our new dynamic, maybe it will help take the band to the next level for them.
And
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that for them if I could. Just be like,
are the fans going to accept this? Can we rebuild the band? But then it must help. It must be a great feeling for you to have Chris, as the other new guy in the band, where like you're not the only new guy. If it goes wrong, it's because of this guy. You got
the difference is you got Chris is like he's the new guy, but everybody knows him from Machine Head. They're like, oh, get Chris Contos. Norman Skinner, they're like, who?
yeah.
But I think one thing I can say for sure is I would say as the support level goes, to me it's like 99.98%. Everyone's just behind me, and I think the real reason that's happening that way is because fans of Forbidden have heard and learned that Russ has retired. He does not want it. He does not want to go back out on the road. He does not want to do any more albums. He's done. So I think if that wasn't in the equation, fans would not be as welcoming to me. But the fact that it's like, hey, you either don't get your band or you get this new version.
And I think, like you said, the fans know that he's kind of given everybody their blessing to move forward without him, and that's good too. Because I honestly, since the news is broke, I haven't read a bad review or heard anybody say, "Oh, this new guy, he's gonna ruin it" or anything. Everybody, it's all been.
I haven't heard that.
But I mean, it's all been positive, and so that's got to be a great feeling because that doesn't happen too often. Especially when a band changes a singer, you get a little bit of criticism, but I haven't heard any. So I say, wow, there must be something to this Norman Skinner guy because to get that kind of reaction, or you even step foot on the stage,
I also think that Craig was very smart in the way that he approached this. He was smart enough to know that, hey, he analyzed it. He's all, this is not a reunion, and then he said that, and we've all said this. He's all, this is more of like a rebirth. This is a reformation of the band with different members. It's a moving forward. So he made sure to put that out there. I think if we were going forward saying, "Oh, Forbidden Reunion," people would be like, "Oh, there's like two original guys," then it would be a little more backlash. So yeah, a lot of smart ways moving forward with this thing.
Well, Norman, congratulations on the new Forbidden gig. It was great talking to you once again. Me and Joe want to thank you for coming on, and maybe once you've hit the stage and you've done a couple of shows, we'd love to have you come back and see how it went. You're welcome back here anytime. Thanks for doing the show.
Where are you guys based?
What's that?
Where are you guys based out of?
Oh, I'm based out of like Los Angeles, California, and Joe's out of Indiana.
Okay. Yeah, I'm near Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, right on. Right down.
Yep. Yeah. Where did you say you're based out of, Norman?
I'm in Sacramento, so I'm just hour and 45 minutes.
Not too far from Tesla.
No, not too far at all.
Anyways,
well, it's good to know. I mean, hey, if you guys see that we're coming through, whatever, hit me up. Like I know you and I are on Facebook, and I think it's your birthday today or tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, bud. Yeah.
Happy early birthday, my brother.
Thank you.
But but Joe, I don't think you and I are on social, so you have to hit me up so we can be.
Yeah, I absolutely will, and I'll be looking for you guys. I'll definitely come if you guys make it to Chicago.
Then we'll hang out.
Norman, the interview we just did will be going up next week. I'll be sure to let you know when it posts, as well as Valorta PR. Yeah. So you have a great 4th of July, you guys, and thanks for doing this. I'll be in touch, okay?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.